I was looking through America magazine now. America is a magazine, so they publish monthly. Is that correct?
Twice a month.
Twice a month.
In print.
And in print. So
Every 2.5 hours online.
So a lot of the stories online for the sexual abuse crisis were actually a lot of CNS articles that you republished, because CNS is a wire service. Your first reaction to the McCarrick News was on actually July 16th. And then I think the editorial that you published was that same day or the next day, but it was Father Martin's piece that was on the 16th, and then the editorial following through. Take us through some editorial meetings at America when this broke, and what were your reactions, and how did you, some of your thoughts about how you were going to cover the story?
Sure. Well, first of all, you're correct to observe that Jeanette and Greg are primarily news-gathering organizations, right? Yeah. And America is not primarily a news-gathering organization, though we do have reporters and we do occasionally break news, and our principal task is to analyze it and to provide context and so forth, to host a conversation about it. We rely on places like the New York Times and CNS, and we're also a member of the AP and so forth, to gather the facts and to report the story. I think it's important, though, if we in the Catholic press are going to rely on the secular media for that, to break those stories because they have the resources to do it, that we also have to exercise our own skepticism vis-a-vis those narratives, because as we learned from the Pennsylvania grand jury report, what we were talking about in those early days turned out to be something very different later, when Peter Steinfels and others took a much harder look at things. But I would say in the immediate aftermath of that story, there were several things going on. So one was just for people who do come to America to keep track of church news, to make sure that those stories were updated from the wires. The second one was to begin to think about how we were going to help our readers to make sense of it. And I would also say, crucially, how we were going to accompany them through it. Because one of the things that I take very seriously in our work at America is that we are not just a media organization, we are a ministry. We're a ministry of the church, and we exercise that by not just providing news and analysis and conversation, but also by providing the spiritual resources that you might need in an event like that. And so we began to do that work. What I saw immediately in the editorial meetings was a serious difference in how we on the staff were responding to this event, and it seemed to come down to a kind of generational difference. So some of us had lived through 2002, 2003, and some of us had not. And those of us who had lived through it, this news left us dejected, sad, a sense of, here we are again, of living through this nightmare. For the younger people on my staff, for whom this was their first Boston, they were furious, right? They were enraged. And so just navigating all of that internally was tough. But essentially, in a moment like that, we function not unlike a newspaper in that we ask, you begin to triage and you begin to ask, okay, what can we offer here? And how can we add something without being a part of the problem? And most importantly, how can we walk with our readers through this experience?